The final weekend edition of the Matchbook Football Betting Podcast is now live across YouTube, Twitter, everywhere else, and it'll be on the podcast from Thursday afternoon. Adrian, Clarke, Mark O'Hare back on board. Guys, I had a week off. Good to see you in pretty good form. Mark, that Napoli show last weekend, terrific stuff, mate. 1.8, never in doubt.
No, it wasn't. I think for all the reasons we kind of suggested on the podcast, really, just the wrong price, really, and an assumption that they were on the beach when that clearly wasn't the case. When you got three of your best, almost legendary players leaving the club probably this summer, so they were keen to put on a show, and it was no match between the two. It was quite a comfortable winner, which was quite nice.
Yeah, and boy, they did. All right, we're not going to spend too much time on last week. We're going to get into this week's edition. And we're going to start in Manchester City at home to Aston Villa. It's pretty simple here. Man City win. They win the league. Current betting kind of reflects that. And, you know, their superiority in the last couple of weeks over the majority of teams. 1.18. You come back to Citizens. Aston Villa 22.0. I don't know if there's going to be too many people getting involved there, guys. The draw available 8.2. Aston Villa getting a 2-goal start, 2.06. 3.5 is the total. Mark, we're recording this on Thursday morning. We're not privy to the result on Thursday night, obviously, ahead of time with Villa. What way did you see this one going?
Well, you would assume City will get the job done and get the result they need. Clearly, the market expects them to. And, we haven't got a huge amount of reason to doubt them apart from possibly what happened at West Ham last weekend and that defensive makeup, which we kind of did sound the alarm about. Pre-West Ham, with no Walker, Diaz and Stones, none of them are due back this weekend either. It looked like Pep opted for Fernandinho at centre-half and what looked like an unfit Laporte alongside him. Ake on the bench, which was an odd call, really, because City did seem to lack pace without Walker, and I think Ake could have remedied that a little bit, and the high line was exposed, but so was the sort of lack of intensity, I thought, as well, particularly in the first half. They were quite ponderous in possession. Didn't seem to have too many answers for West Ham's deep defence. So, yeah, it was a bit of a wake-up call, really, for Pep and his team. And there was a nervousness about their performance as well, which we don't often see. And I think they will bounce back because they are at the Etihad. They know the importance of this match. They've been involved in such huge matches in the last couple of years. This won't be a great shock for them. But, you know, there is a couple of concerns there, particularly about that defensive makeup. And I think that should act as encouragement, really, for Aston Villa, who we know have the ability in the final third. They do have players of ability who can turn games or can win matches for them. And obviously there's the Steven Gerrard factor too, which I don't think is probably going to be overplayed, really. He's not on the field. He's not able to influence things. But saying that, you know, I think Ollie Watkins is a player who could quite comfortably cause this City defence problems, particularly in transitions. I really hope Emi Buendia gets more game time because he's been more influential and effective than Coutinho over the last 10 weeks. But Villa have their own issues defensively, I think, injury-wise. So, and look, their results against the big teams have been dreadful all season. 13 defeats from 15. When you look at the top 8, the only avoided defeat against Man United. As you mentioned, they play on Thursday night. That eats into their recovery and prep time too. So, look, the market expects City to win this game comfortably. I don't think it will be quite as comfortable as the market does seem to suggest. But, you know, goals tend to increase in May quite significantly too. And on the end of season matches, I always tend to sort of bat a little bit higher, really, and just kind of swing a little bit more because I do think there's opportunity to do that. And I think if City are comfortably ahead, there are going to be opportunities for Villa in transitions. But even if they're not, you know, I still think there's going to be opportunity for Villa against that City defence. So I considered the same wager which Adrian, I think, is going to promote. But I'm going to be a bit bolder into City to win and both teams to score at 3.1. I don't want to sort of reveal what Adrian's bet is, but just because, you know, if you're going to back the handicap, for example, I just think you get a much better price on your side. And the reality is City will probably win this game. So do they win it by 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, or is it a sort of a 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, that kind of thing? So, yeah, as I say, normally final day of the season, I will always kind of be a bit bolder than I normally would, just because sort of trends tend to show that. Goals tend to rise at this time of the season, and I think City should finish the job quite comfortably.
Yeah, Adrian, look, Mark didn't give the game away there, to be fair to him. He can probably maybe slightly give it away. You know what, though?
It's a professional, yeah.
Professional tease, I would suggest. 27th of April, 2014, the Gerrard slip to let Demba Ba in for that goal against Chelsea. It's going to be played a few times this week. And it's kind of a crap enough narrative. It's some sort of redemption for the guy. He doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. But he will have his team up for this one, Adrian.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like you think, a team might be on the beach, last game of the season, don't really care. I think Gerrard will make sure that his players know that he cares. Obviously, there's the Coutinho connection, there's the Danny Ings connection. There are a few players there that might want Liverpool to win the league ahead of City. Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, the Grealish factor as well. Jack Grealish could lift the trophy, couldn't he, at the final whistle? So there's a bit of motivation there, if you want to look at that. But I prefer to look at it from the football point of view. I agree with Mark on Ollie Watkins. I think his movement and pace in behind on those counters will cause a makeshift defence problems. Danny Ings is in good form at the end of the season, as is Buendia. And some of the stats are really, really interesting. I mean, Villa almost always score. They've only failed to score in eight games of 36. Obviously, they've got a game tonight, haven't they? So we'll see what lands there. But my selection, I'll give the game away now. It's Villa +2 at odds against, which I think is quite attractive, because I genuinely think that they can make life really difficult for City on the final day. There's so much pressure on Manchester City. All eyes on them. Liverpool have not gone away, and it's got to the final day, and they actually need to win now. And obviously, with Mahrez missing that penalty, you just wonder whether that will heap a little bit more, into their minds ahead of the game. So I think Villa, because they're capable of scoring, can make it competitive. Because of the scenario, City being under pressure, I think it can be close. And wait for this, Villa, even though they have a dreadful record against the big boys this season, away to the top 10 sides, this bet only loses one out of 9. 7 wins and 1, you get your money back on a 2-goal deficit. So I think that Villa, away from home to the better teams, have been close. They've normally lost, but they have kept things nice and close. And I think when you throw everything into the melting pot, I think they can do the same here. I did look also, and I'm not just saying this, Mark, I did look at your bet as well. Because both teams to score is a very attractive price. Very attractive. I think just on its own, the last time I looked, it was 2.36. That leaps off the page to me. And then if you couple it with a City win, that's it's a very, very good price in my opinion. So I think these are two pretty good selections actually. Obviously, Mark's is a better price, but Villa +2. If you want to get on their side, if you don't really want them to win the league, it might be an attractive bet to give you a bit of fun on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, well, according to Pep Guardiola, the whole of the UK and Ireland want Liverpool to win. So I don't know, outside of, I don't know where he's getting those stats for, those metrics.
I'll be honest, I do want Liverpool to win the league. I'm totally neutral. I've got no interest really, but I just would prefer it.
Well, why is that, Adrian? Very quickly, why is that, you think?
I don't know. I like Klopp more than I like Guardiola. I respect Guardiola as a brilliant coach, but I like Klopp better. I don't know. I think it's a better story for Liverpool to bounce back. It's the Liverpool building it over years, kind of the proper way rather than
well, I think you touched on it there. I think that's what most people agree on. One is owned by a state. The other one, to be fair, is owned by a Fenway Sport Group.
Do you know what? Setup. I also like, even though City play amazing football, beautiful football, I prefer watching Liverpool. I don't know what it is. I think it's the energy, the dynamism. I can't put my finger on it. I think that Liverpool have got a little bit more of a rawness about them that is more attractive than Manchester City. But it's just a personal opinion. But I think it's shared by a lot of people.
It absolutely is. So we put in 2 selections here, guys. Like Mark says, swing small bit for the fences last week of the season. City and BTTS is 3.1 and Villa +2, 2.06. 2 odds against shots for Manchester on Sunday afternoon. All right, we'll move on to the other half of this. Look, it could get dramatic. It could not. We'll find out pretty quickly after 4 o'clock on Sunday. Liverpool play host to Wolves. You can back the Reds here at 1.2. Wolves at 15.0. The draw available is 7.6. Wolves getting a 2-goal start at 1.96. You can back Liverpool -2 to win by 3 goals or more. If it's 2, you get your money back at 1.86. 3.5 is the total, and it's very much shaded towards the under here. So I think that main goal line will be about 3 come kickoff time. All right, Adrian, take it away. What's the angle here? Look, Liverpool have been sensational last couple of weeks. And I mean, in fairness, look, they did drop that point to Spurs. But I mean, could they have done much more here? I don't think they could have.
No, they've been really, really good. And it was so brave, wasn't it, of Klopp to make the 9 changes in midweek. Huge gamble. But it's one that's paid off because his players will be nicely rested for the biggest game, really, one that they know that they have to win and hope for the best from City. Yeah, I just feel that they haven't come this far, Liverpool, to then go and fluff their lines on the final day. I think that is quite a powerful weapon. They're also up against a Wolves team that have been rubbish. Let's be honest. Of late, they have been poor at the back and pretty powder puff going forward. Really, I've not been impressed with them. I think they can't wait for the season to finish.
Disappointing. There's a lot of potential in that team.
Well, you look at the league table, you say Wolves have had a great season, but it feels as if they tapered off months ago or weeks ago. Somehow they're still in the mix. They've had 1 win in 8. They did get a draw at Chelsea, if you remember, not that long ago, 2 apiece, where they fought back. And away from home, they've actually been fairly solid. I think they've only conceded 8 away goals in their last 10 away games, but they lost 1-0 at City. They lost 1-0 at Manchester United. They beat Spurs 2-0. So going away to a big team is something that a good Wolves team likes. But right now, I don't think it's a good Wolves team, and I don't think that they're really up for it. I think that they are. I don't want to say on the beach, but they're just not. They just can't wait for the season to finish. Look at Liverpool. Obviously, fantastic. They'll be freshened up. They have 1-0 in 12 of 18 home games this season. And when you think about Wolves being pretty light up front, I mean, who is going to score the goals for them? I'm really not sure. In 2022, 7 of 9 home games, Liverpool have won 0, and that's where I'm going. I fancy Liverpool to get the job done, and I don't think they'll give Wolves much of a sniff here. It's it's a short enough price, but it's backable at 1.89. When you consider that Liverpool, you can't back them on the nose, can you, at that price? So couple it with winning 0, and I think we're onto a winner there, because Wolves aren't offering a great deal at the moment.
Mark, what are you making of this one? I look, it's pretty obvious you want to be with Liverpool here, but what's the best way in terms of a bet?
The best way probably is, if you're not sort of dictated by price, would be the win to 0. It's just a small rule of mine. I hate backing win to 0s at odds-on quotes, even though it kind of screams off the page here. And look, I'm not going to say it's a bad bet, because it clearly is the best bet here. But as I said, I'm kind of continuing my theme of just having a little cover drive now, looking for
playing your shots. I love it
if I possibly can, and I'll back Liverpool to
win. You've got too much money in the bank, Mark. This is it, isn't it? You're just thinking,
the driver's out of the bag here, Adrian.
It's like, I can get away with this.
But always do gamble responsibly at all times.
I think the sorry state of Wolves dictates that we've got an opportunity here to back a big Liverpool win, and rather than back the sort of the handicap, which is set high again at 2, I thought Liverpool to win an over 3.5 goals at just shy of 2.6 was good enough, really. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them steamroller Wolves, who have looked like they've signed off early doors this season. Bruno Lage was really frustrated with the performance against Norwich last week. Same old issues, starting slowly, not taking chances, and giving away stupid opportunities. And look, they've lost the XG count in 14 of the last 17 Premier League games, which is really quite dreadful. Jose Sarr has been performing heroics throughout the season. They have been overperforming, and actually Wolves have been operating as a bottom 6 side now for the whole calendar year, really. Winless in 6, 9 defeats in 16. Only 4 Premier League clubs have collected fewer points in that 16-game sample. No clean sheets in 8, 3 clean sheets in 18, giving up around 1.75 XG over the last 16 games on average. Not really the figures or numbers and trends you want to be churning out before you go to Anfield in a must-win game for Liverpool. So, the only concern here is Liverpool sort of rest and rotate a little bit with next week in mind and Real Madrid. But I just think the squad is so strong that they should be capable of scoring 2 or 3 here. And then, Wolves probably won't contribute, but end of the season, if the news filters through to Anfield if a City are 3-4 goals up, then they can easily sort of take their foot off the pedal, and we could get a few late goals either way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, look, the best bet is clearly Adrian's. But again, just swinging.
All right, yeah. Look, we'll swing away as a podcast here as well. Liverpool to win in over 3.5. Say Adrian's selection 2.48. And Mark's won Liverpool to win 2-0. That will appear as home team to win 2-0.
Other way around.
Wrong way round.
Is that the way around? Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's fine. You weren't listening at all there, were you, Sally?
Yeah, it's like the fatigue of the season last show. I'm obviously just not picking it up.
You are. You know what you are, Sally? You're still on the beach. That's
exactly what it is. I was up to 24 hours ago. That's exactly what the issue is. Yeah, all right. Well, forget about the long season. I can't even use that excuse for the week off as well. So anyway, all right. Other way around, Liverpool to win 2-0 only at 1.89 and Liverpool over 3.5, 2.48. All right, okay, guys. Games of choice, next section up. Mark, you've gone for Burnley against Newcastle. Look, I think there's pairs of selections the next couple of games, so I'm going to side with the game of choice here. Mark, this is your one. Let's take a very quick look at the betting. 2.42, you can back Burnley. 2.98, the informed Newcastle United, you can back them there at 3.4 to draw. Newcastle getting a half a goal start at 1.6 or whatever. We're not going to be back on that. 2.5 is the total, slightly shade towards the under. Mark, look, again, we're not privy to Thursday night and Burnley, whether they get a point or wherever else. But in terms of betting this one, what were you looking?
Yeah, probably a bit of touch premature for me to pick this game without knowing Thursdays, because it will change the permutations of Burnley and what's required based on what they do against Aston Villa. But one thing we do know for sure is they will need a result, or probably will need a result, regardless of what happens against Aston Villa. So I know against Tottenham we saw a more old school Burnley performance, defended pretty well. Nick Pope was excellent, and but as we've talked about in previous pods, they have transitioned to be a bit more attack-minded, a bit more possession-heavy and comfortable on the ball under Mike Jackson. The issue here, I guess, is if they only need a point, could they revert to old-style Burnley, or will they be more proactive? It's impossible to know at this stage. So kind of caveats out of the way there. But I think from a Newcastle perspective, only 2 points off ninth. An excellent turnaround. Obviously, the signings have helped in the money. But a few of those key players were injured and haven't really worked out either. So I do think Eddie Howe deserves praise for improving some of the sort of parts of the furniture at St James's Park that were already there, really. And I think Joel Linton and maybe John Joe Shelby, just off the top of my head, in particular there. But Newcastle have only lost 4 Premier League games against teams outside of the top 6, which is really quite surprising. And they've scored in all bar 4 Premier League games since Christmas. 3 of the 4 that didn't were against City, Liverpool and Chelsea. So I absolutely believe that they can make a statement here and capable enough of scoring at Turf Moor. But they very rarely keep teams out as well on the road as well. So both teams to score looked a reasonable option at 1.8 when I did look. Presuming Burnley have to be proactive, if they do need to pick up at least a point. As I say, main matches always see an increase, and BTTS in particular, and over 2.5 goals hikes at this end of the season. So I'd be very surprised if this ended in a drab 0-0 draw. I think Newcastle at least will try and give this Burnley team a bit of a game, and who knows what will be required on Sunday, but I presume Burnley will at least have to contribute to the score sheet to have a chance of staying up.
Adrian, conscious of time this morning, so very quickly, I think you're going slightly different angle here. You think it actually will be a pretty tight and touchy affair? Yeah,
but only because, Mark said it. I'm going on the assumption that they'll need a point, because I think they'll get something tonight. But even if they don't, a point might be good enough if Leeds muck up on the last day at Brentford, which is a really tough game. So I think wait is my best advice, but if they only need a point, then I like unders. I do, because obviously I watched the game, I commentated on the game at Spurs. The shape was very good. They were super organised. They frustrated Tottenham, and kind of deserved a point, really. Incredibly unlucky penalty, wasn't it? But we won't go there. Newcastle were good. Obviously, I was super impressed with them against Arsenal. Outstanding performance, but that was St James's Park. Fervent. Be different at Burnley. I was just looking at Burnley. 12 of 18 Burnley home games under 2.5. 10 of 18 Newcastle away games under 2.5. So the odds are in your favour across the season as a whole. And I think there'll be a lot of tension at Turf Moor, no matter what the situation. And I just don't see that many goals in them. I just don't. Cornet looks a threat, but you look around. Who's going to score the goals? That's the issue. Even though they've been a bit more adventurous under Mike Jackson. I think with the scenario that they might face, it'll be edgy, it'll be tense, and I don't see a goal fest myself. But both teams to score it's very possible, as Mark has outlined his reasons for that. But yeah, if Burnley only need a point to survive, unders would be my selection.
All right, Mark, as it was your game of choice, we will go with your selection at 1.8, both teams to score. All right, Adrian, your game of choice is Norwich against Tottenham. I think you're trying to put the hex on Tottenham here, but let's be honest about it. If Arsenal fans are relying on Norwich here I know it's for a long afternoon, and pretty fruitless one, you can back the Canaries here at 13.0, Tottenham 1.25, which is 1-4 in fractional terms. 6.8 is the draw. Norwich getting a 1 3/4 goal start at 1.93. And 3.25 is the total. Adrian, it's done and dusted for the Gunners. This one as well.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
Look, Arsenal are not playing
Reverse
Champions
X.
League football. Spurs can't lose this game. They can't fail to win this game, in my opinion. Yeah, they've got themselves into pole position. It's the dream fixture on the final day, and yeah, Son, Kane, Mora, and Kulusevski—they're all playing fantastically well. And they should be way too hot for Norwich to handle. 7 of Tottenham's away games have featured over 3.5 goals. Norwich have leaked 38 in 18 home games this season, which obviously is over 2 a game. Spurs have scored 29 goals in their last 12. Everything points to me towards a bit of a rout on the final day of the season. Okay, we know about the Spursy thing. I'd love to see it. Everyone knows I'd love to see it, but I just don't envisage it. I looked at the goal line, and it was 3.25, which was quite high, compared to normal, and it favoured the overs. Even on that high goal line, it leaned towards the overs. So 3.5 is not an outlandish shout. And if you fancy over 3.5, you've got to fancy Tottenham. So you pair it all together, and I think the price is not bad actually at 2.52. So yeah, it was a standout price for what looks a 4-0, 4-1 type of game to me. Norwich might score. Pookie's quite sharp, but I can't see Spurs scoring less than 3. I really can't.
Yeah, you say Spursy, but the Conte factor balances it out, mate. It always does. He gets the job done. Marco here, quickly on this one, mate. You're in agreement in getting with Spurs, but slightly different angle.
Yeah, I thought Tottenham to win to 0, or Tottenham and BTTS no at 2.18 was too big a leap really from Tottenham to win the game at 1.25. Norwich have been nilled in 57% of their Premier League games. They failed to score in half of their home matches. They scored 1 in 5. They scored 2 home goals in 8 games against the top half. They've lost to 0 in 10 of 13 against the top 6. And their attacking process has got worse since they've been confirmed as relegated. So in the last 4 games, they've averaged 0.5 XG and managed an average of 4.5 shots in the box, which is pretty pitiful stuff. So I suspect Spurs will be a little bit more cautious considering what's at stake here. They will win the game comfortably, but I just think that they'll probably be pretty tight too. The only concern is Romero, who probably will be missing again. And if it improved dramatically defensively under Conte, I do think he is the sort of icing on that defensive cake when he's available. So, I just thought that the lead from 1.25 to 2.18 was enormous, really, for no Norwich goals, which is quite a regular occurrence.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it probably is the safer one of the two. I do. So I've got no issue if you want to take that one, Mark. I like the overs, and I think it'd be a fun one to back. More fun than back into nil.
Yeah, that's it. You always want to have a bit of fun with your bets, don't you? So winning to nil is never enjoyable.
I don't know if you're relying on Norwich to score, mate. I don't know how much fun that's going to be. So let's take Spurs to win to nil. I appreciate that, Adrian, for seeing 2.18. Very quick recap of those before we get to the latter stages of the show. So we've got 2 bets in the Man City and Villa game. City and both teams to score 3.1. Villa +2 at 2.06. Liverpool and over 3.5 against Wolves 2.48. That's Mark's selection. Adrian's selection, Liverpool to win to nil 1.89. Both teams score Burnley and Newcastle 1.8, and we just covered our Spurs to win to nil at 2.18. Insights.matchbook.com. You can check out all of those selections from about midday on Thursday. So we're rattling through a lot of games. And if you haven't got a matchbook.com account and you do want to get involved today and for this weekend, don't worry, we'll still be there once the Premier League season finishes. Insights 30, use that bonus code Insights 30 for the £30 welcome offer. That's money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. Insights.matchbook.com again to check out details of that offer. Terms and conditions will be there. All right, guys, let's rattle on here. League One final is on Saturday. Sunderland against Wycombe. Let's take a look at the betting as we have it currently at matchbook.com. With an EFL game, the margins are a bit wider here on Thursday morning, but rest assured they will tighten up. 2.08. You can back the Mackems here. 3.65. Wycombe, the draw available at 3.2. Wycombe getting on the half goal start at 1.79. 2.25 is the total. That's very much shaded towards the under, but I think you can back under 2.5 at a pretty decent price as well. Adrian, both of these teams, you looked at, neither of them lost the game since February. They're just really hard teams to beat. This has the makings of a very tight affair.
I think it does. Yeah, well, if you look at the previous meetings, one was a 3-3 draw at Adams Park, which was a crazy game, absolutely brilliant entertainment. And then Sunderland won 3-1 at the Stadium of Light. But both teams have tightened up considerably since those games. They've ended the season scoring goals and conceding very few. I can't split them. I don't know why the odds are how they are. Okay, if you look at the individuals in both teams, Sunderland have more stars, bigger name. We know they'll have more than twice as many fans as Wycombe, if you think that's a factor. But they'll also have the weight of expectation, which is huge. I think all the pressure is on Sunderland here. I think the odds should be much, much closer between the two. If you look at the form line, over 6 games, 8 games, 12 games, you can't split them. They've earned exactly the same number of points in the running. So there are 2 angles here. One was unders, because I think under 2.5 is backable for sure. Alex Neil has tightened up Sunderland massively. They're much harder to break down than they were, and I think they will be at Wembley. You know what it's like at Wembley in a major final like this. Ainsworth has tightened up Wycombe as well. They had a patch where they were conceding a lot of goals. Not at the moment. We saw them at MK Dons. Didn't have hardly any of the ball. They held them at bay. And yeah, Ainsworth is a canny guy as well. He's very tactically intelligent. Good match play boss, I would say, Gareth Ainsworth. In this kind of scenario, he kind of relishes it, and he'll have a plan. No doubt about that. So my 2 angles, one is under 2.5 goals. The other is Wycombe on the handicap. I think you quoted it at 1.79 plus half a goal. You get the draw on side or the Wycombe win. I think Sunderland are deservedly favourites, but for me, it would be a really small margin. The gap is too big. So it's a pick 'em really between those two. I think Wycombe can easily take this into extra time or win the game. But equally, if Sunderland do win, it's likely to be 1-0 or 2-0, I'd suggest.
Mark, what do you think of this one? Like, I mean, the under 2.5 kind of jumped out at me. But even Wycombe getting half a goal, and we saw that price, that was a bit shorter actually overnight. It was 1.73. You're getting nearly 1.8. But Mark, the under is your player in this one.
Well, I also do like Wycombe plus a half. I'm very much in agreement on everything Adrian said there. I'm completely nodding along to, because it's right, really. Sunderland, they're favourites, not just on reputation. Adrian mentioned they're bringing a lot more fans as well. Going to be fans in the Wycombe area as well, which has caused a bit of issues from the Wycombe perspective. But in terms of the price, it's purely driven by performance data numbers. And over the last 16 games, Sunderland have been rated as the second best team in League One, just behind Sheffield Wednesday, who they toppled in the semi-finals and were very, very impressive in doing so. They have been very good under Alex Neil in terms of kind of just moving on pretty unflashily, getting results done, drawn a few games, but keeping clean sheets and tightening up defensively, as Adrian says. And I think it's the unders angle flies in the face of recent League One playoff final trends. 8 of the last 11, surprisingly, have gone over 2.5 goals. But here, I think we've got 2 very strong, capable, resolute defences on show. Individually, as Adrian says, Sunderland do have the sort of X factor, if you like, but what they don't have is the team spirit, if you like, of the Wycombe team, who just believe they can do anything, really. And they were actually fairly unlucky at the end of the day to be relegated from the Championship, because they were so competitive in almost every match. And also, I think the weather needs to be mentioned as well. I think it's around 22 degrees expected at Wembley on Saturday. Not stifling, but warm enough that just to bear in mind, really, particularly in the second half, if teams are slogging it out and there's not a huge amount of goals, extra time will beckon. And look, unders has landed in 10 of Wycombe's last 14. Including 4 of 4 when they're taking on top 6 rivals in that sample as well. So, I'm all for the Chairboys and hopefully they get promoted here. But I think under 2.5 goals would be my preferred play, just because it takes out the allegiance of having to support either team.
Yeah, all right. So what were we saying the bet was again? Are we taking unders or we're taking the plus?
No, unders is fine. Unders is absolutely fine. Yeah, it's a pick 'em, isn't it? No,
it is. You can go other ways.
I think you could probably get a bit more value, like you say. You can watch it as a neutral, and if Sunderland score, it doesn't ruin your day, does it? So, I think unders. I see a low scoring win for either side, or potentially a 0-0 or a 1-0 that goes into extra time.
Yeah, look, if I gave you 9.0 and a 0-0, Adrian, would you take it? It's even better, actually. I'll give you 10 points on it. 10.0. Yeah. All right, that's one to maybe watch. We move on to Serie A. Mark, 1 point needed for Milan as they take on Sassuolo. But you actually fancy Sassuolo to keep this tight. And again, we look at these kind of teams. You looked at Napoli last week with a couple of their key players leaving. Sassuolo have a couple of guys that, last game too, big players for Berardi and Scamacca. I always get his name wrong. So, is that the angle here? Is it that they will be in this game?
Yeah, I might be totally wrong here, but I do feel there could be a slight twist in the Scudetto race. Inter at home to Sampdoria, and I expect them to run up a cricket score in that match. And Milan, this is a tricky away day. Now, Milan have been fantastic away from home. They've been the best team in Serie A away last season and again this season. And as you say, they only need a point, but the handicap is a big handicap for a tricky game. So bearing in mind they don't have to win the match, you're asking them to overcome a -1.25 start, which is pretty hefty, particularly when they're playing a team like Sassuolo. Milan have won by 2 goals or more on 5 occasions this season, 2 of which were against the bottom, away from home, I should say, 2 of which were against the bottom 2. Verona in 9th were the best team. They've beaten by 2 goals or more. And Verona are 2 points better off than Sassuolo. They do play in a similar style, but the important thing here is Milan don't need to win because of the head-to-head record against Inter. So Sassuolo will be proactive. They are very dangerous, and they do have key players, as you say, leaving, who will be keen to sign off in style. This just feels like a bit of a dangerous game for Milan. Sassuolo have been nilled just 5 times, and in 9 home games against top half teams, they've scored twice or more, 6 times. So if they score here, you need Milan to score 3 or more to see the bet lose. And look, Sassuolo, as we know, are pretty horrendous at trying to keep the back door shut. But I just think from a Milan perspective, they don't tend to relish or enjoy or try to engage in basketball-style games. They'll know what's required. And if you look at their most recent matches, incredible finale away at Lazio, scored in the last minute to steal the points, really. They were held at Torino to a 0-0 draw, a scrappy 1-0 win at Cagliari, who are desperate for the points, and a pretty god-awful Cagliari team too. So I just think Sassuolo can make life tricky for them here. I think they can score, and if they do score, I think that handicap is quite nice, considering what you've got on your side here. So, I might be completely wrong, but this doesn't feel like the gimme that the market seems to think it is.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I don't know. I think it's going to be a bit of drama there over the weekend in Italy. All right, best bet time. We're going to put these in a double as well. You'll find it a podcast special on sites. Not quite up yet on Thursday morning. But Adrian, this is a bet the Mark loves as well. You're dipping back into the Premier League. Leicester City to beat Southampton and over 1.5 total goals at 2.16. What's the case here? Because you could make the case that beach both teams potentially, but last home game.
Love the price. I do. I think it's a really good price. Southampton are not good at the moment. They tail off every year, don't they? Under Ralph Hasenhüttl, they seem to hit a bit. They hit a certain points tally and then they just fall apart. The stats are so strong here. I mean, if you start on the goal angle to begin with, the goal line is set at 3. So that tells you straight away that everyone's expecting more than 1.5 goals. Both teams to score is 1.56. Which tells you that there's 2 goals that are fully expected straight away before you've even got going. The stats are even stronger. 16 of 18 Saints away games over 1.5 goals. 31 of 36 Leicester matches across the season have gone over 1.5 goals as well. That's the most in the Premier League. So Leicester are strong at home. Only a handful of clubs, 5 I think, have won more matches on their own patch than Leicester, who are finishing the season strongly. They've had a bit of fun, haven't they, since getting knocked out of Europe? They've battered Watford, they've battered Norwich, and I think Southampton are kind of there for the taking. The Saints, often worth a goal, of course, but yeah, I think last home game of the season in a match that doesn't really matter for both sides, I would always back the host to go out with a bang, make sure that lap of honour or that lap of appreciation is a nice, happy one. So for me, Leicester are too long. I think that they should be sure to really to win the game, and I absolutely expect over 1.5 goals. So it just leapt off the page, this one.
All right, Mark fully agrees with that because he tried to put that as his best bet. Did you beat him to do it, Adrian? So it is first time for everything, man. Mark O'Hare, League On. It's the final night of the season on Saturday evening. Nantes against Saint Etienne. You know what? Like, they're obviously relegated, Saint Etienne, but it's not been offensively wider relegated. It's defensively. If you look at their goals scored, they actually match up quite well, even against the mid-tier teams.
They're not relegated yet, Sully. You've been on that beach far too long. No, you're thinking of Bordeaux.
Yes, we covered them against Angers. I'm just going to pack it in. The problem is Dan is going to be hosting this in the first week in August now.
So St Etienne are in the second relegation spot at the moment. Metz are in the relegation playoff place. Metz have to go to PSG. They've got a huge total and a huge handicap start there. That's something to bear in mind because PSG's players have been gallivanting around Europe in the last couple of weeks. I don't think they're too bothered by that. But so St Etienne are travelling to Nantes, who have just won the Coupe de France, a massive coup for them. So they need to basically better Metz's result to try and get into that relegation playoff place. But recent form is dreadful. 4 defeats on the spin, 6 defeats in 8. So it's very difficult to see them turning up and getting a result here, even if the market thinks that they can be competitive. They've won just twice since February. They just look overestimated by the market at the minute. So I think goals are the way to play this instead. They do tend to play quite proactively. They tend to play on the front foot under Pascal Dupraz. But, defensively has been their downfall. They've kept 4 clean sheets all season. They've conceded twice or more in 7 of their last 8. And bear in mind, they've been battling relegation recently. So to be conceding and hemorrhaging goals in the way they have has been pretty problematic, really. 7 of those 8 games featured over 2.5 goals. So they've actually scored themselves in 14 of the last 16, and both teams have scored in 12 of those 16 as well, with an average of 3.5 goals per game. So just following those trends, really, because Nantes have been doing similar towards the end of the season. They're safely in mid-table, but their past 5 games have produced 25 goals in Ligue 1. Both teams have scorers banked in each of the last 8, and they failed to keep a clean sheet in 10 league games, but they have scored twice or more in 7 of 9 when hosting bottom half teams. So, I think over 2.5 goals is a really nice angle way in here for a double. If you look at Ligue 1, as with all the leagues across Europe, they tend to see goals rise in May. In Ligue 1, it averages 2.83 goals per game in May, which is quite a steep increase actually compared to sort of the season average across previous seasons too. So I think this one has a real case for a high goal angle. So over 2.5 goals.
Yeah, so we're going to put over 2.5 there in that double, and it's going to be about 3.5 under the podcast specials at matchbook.com. And as ever, if you see that double better priced elsewhere, drop us a line on Twitter and we will rectify it. Mark, Adrian, I'm going back to the beach, guys. I don't really think there was any major need for me to get off it, given my couple of clangers here today. But it has been a pleasure all season. You guys have been terrific. I don't have the figures to hand there, but our best bets, I think we have a 12% ROI on the season, so which is really good. Mark also has a couple of selections that we covered here on insights.matchbook.com as well. Mark, Adrian, absolute pleasure as ever, guys. We'll see you back for the new season. Busy couple of weeks ahead and months as we head into a Winter World Cup as well. So you guys are going to be worked to the bone. So enjoy these couple of weeks away.
It's been great to be on the show this season. Loved it. Yeah.
Great stuff. Mark, we'll see you in another couple of weeks as well, mate. You're going to be back for Champions League with Jonathan on Monday as well. So stay tuned for that Monday afternoon. That recording will be out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening throughout the season. Keep in touch with us at insights.matchbook.com or follow us at the Team Matchbook Twitter channel for more updates. But until next season, goodbye for now.